Hello, hello, hello. I'm Kelvin Guest of Guest Wines. Welcome to Rioja Wine Month. Yes, Guest Wines this month are collaborating with Rioja Wines UK, Shop Rioja, to show off a little some of the wines that come from the wonderful wine region of northeastern Spain. Now, the region's probably the most probably well-known region for producing wine in Spain, and also known for its oak-aged wines. And don't get me wrong, they're absolutely fabulous. Now, but Rioja, that would be fooling ourselves if that's all Rioja did. Rioja make a fine range of wines, anything from lovely, crisp, sparkling wines, youthful white wines, youthful red wines, and a little bit of dessert also in there as well. Today, I've chosen 3 of the wines from our range. If you want to see the more full of our range, then please go to our website at www.guestwines.com and go over to our shop. There's also a search button. You can put in Rioja and it will come up with all our Rioja wines nice and easy there for you straight away. Now, the 3 I've chosen, I just think give a fair representation of the wines from this region. And I also think that hopefully they'll give you a little bit more of an idea of the kind of wines that you can get, and the range and the great varieties, as well as the styles that are available out there. Just to remind everybody as well that all the wines this month from Rioja that we've got on sale also have a nice discount with them as well, just for this month. So please get yourself over there if you want this discount. And also the Rioja Wines UK folk have also kindly thrown in 1 or 2 goodies that we shall distribute with every purchase of Rioja wine. So get yourself over to our shop now. So without further ado, shall we get on and taste some wine? Now, usually I'll start off with a fizz or a white wine, but today I thought I'd start with a Rosado, otherwise known as a rosé wine. And I'm doing that because the next wine is going to be a white wine, but it is more full of bodied, and I thought that the Rosado was more appropriate to start the ball rolling. So the wines that we've got before we start with the Rosado, I'll just briefly go through which ones we've chosen for today. We've chosen the El Coto Rosado. We've chosen the Castillo Clavico. This is the barrel fermented Viura. And we've got the El Coto de Imas. This is a Reserva Tempranillo Red. Okay. Right, so we're going to start with this Rosado wine. Now, Rioja is not as well known for making its rosé wines. It's more for its robust reds. So this is why we thought we'd choose this one. Its neighbour Navarra is probably more known for its Rosado wines, but we'd be wrong in thinking that they don't make them, and they don't make them good. Now, this one, I love this one. This is nice. Now, you might think, oh, summer's finishing. Who wants to be drinking rosé at this time of year? Well, I'm telling you, well, I certainly do. And I think a lot of other people should. If you're not drinking them, you should be as well. Might be able to catch those last glimmers of the sun as we now turn more fully into autumn, towards winter. But still, at home, relaxing, feet up, on the sofa. There's nothing like setting off a weekend or just an evening in front of the telly with a nice rosé wine. Now, this one here, I just think it has got some really nice colour, because it's all sort of in vogue at the moment to have rosé wines that are extremely pale, which are fine, which are cool. But don't be put off by ones that are a little bit darker. It doesn't mean they're terrible. It doesn't mean they're going to be less of a quality wine. It's just the great variety and the processes made with it. This is made by Rioja's main grape variety, which is Tempranillo. It's a red grape variety, and it's got a little bit of Garnacha in there as well. Now, Garnacha is the same grape variety that is often known in France as Grenache, and they work together. I suppose the Grenache is there because it'll give a little bit of body. It could put a little bit more alcohol in there, and it's got those lovely red fruits, whereas the Tempranillo will add some structure and firmness to this. So you get a nice balance, plus all of that all important acidity that you need for that little bit of freshness. So again, looking at this, we've got a lovely colour on this. This one has been what's called macerated to make the red wine. To make a rosé wine, you generally use red grapes rather than a blend of white and red wine, which you can do. Some countries do. Sometimes some countries it's not permitted. But in this instance, they're both red grape varieties that have been left on the skins, and that's because red grape varieties, the colour is in the skins and not necessarily inside the flesh in there. There's a few that do that, but not that many. So it's been left to soak, or what's called macerate, for a little while, and this imparts some colour. And then when the winemaker's got the colour that they like, they've then decided that that's the colour that the rosé is going to be. So, excuse me. So let's give it a smell and a taste. Now, on the nose, it's just bursting with red berry fruits. There's some nice spice going on there, a little bit of confected sweetness. But again, just sort of raspberry, cherry fruits, strawberry, really, really inviting. Easy going. It's just begging me just to throw myself onto a sofa, put my feet up, and go and watch a box set of any sort that I prefer at the time, and probably one that maybe lasts maybe for a bottle or two of this very nice wine. So give it a swirl. I'll give it a taste. There is certainly, I think the fruits, because they're nice and ripe and they're very prominent in this wine, the actual body's got a little bit of weight to it as well, and that kind of, I think it extends the fruit, it lifts it, but gives the fruit some actual almost like a weight in its own self, in its body, like you're actually sort of biting into the fruit, and you're getting some of the kind of the fruit parts with it as well, as not just the liquid, because it's got that nice sort of weightiness that balances in the mouth, but there's a smoothness to that as well, and a decent bit of freshness, which you need to sort of, I think, it always invigorates the fruit, it invigorates those flavors, and makes it really good to go with food. Now, if I was going to have food with this, the first thing I could think of, what I thought of in my head, was something garlicky, like garlic mushrooms would be good. Or maybe if I'm looking at something a bit more substantial, potato tortilla would be really good. Or even, I think, a roast chicken would work perfectly well with this. But mind you, if I'm just sat on the sofa with my box set, I'd probably just have one or two nibbles, something maybe just a little bit salt in there, just some sort of kettle crisp or something like that. Would be just as fine to go with this, or just on its own, nicely chilled, watching TV, relaxing. That's fab. This is really, really nice. Now, El Cotto, this is the producer who does this. We have their range of wines from the rosé. We've got whites, and we've also got reds from this producer. They're a very well-known established producer in the Rioja region. They are involved with their own vineyards and also buying in grapes from growers, which is a traditional practice in Rioja. And grapes are sourced from various parts of Rioja itself. Rioja is mainly split. It's kind of split into three subzones. There is other parts of it, but the main region it's split into three. And this is Alta, Alavesa, and Oriental, which used to be known as Baca. These grapes here, this is a Tempranillo grape, and these come from the Alta region. And Alta, like the name suggests, it means that it's a little bit elevated. By being elevated, you get a longer ripening season, so you get this real sort of ripeness of the fruit, whilst at the same time, because it's a bit cooler, it maintains that acidity, so you get that nice freshness in there. Now, to add some body onto this, because I'd say the Tempranillo probably gives it the structure, it kind of holds it together, it gives it that kind of the acidic part, and maybe there's a little bit of tannin that comes off there to give that foodie appeal to the wine. But then the Grenache, or the Garnacha, in here is, I think it gives it that roundness, body, the strawberry fruit. It gives it a bit of weight. The textural side is there, and that the grape varieties from the Garnacha are all grown in the Oriental region. This is a warmer part of Rioja. The Garnacha grape variety likes it nice and warm, and so this is a very suitable part of the region for it to come from. So they've been they've been fermented separately, then popped together as part of this blend. And I just think it's a wonderful wine to have. And Rioja is, like I say, not that known for its rosados, but rosé wine in general has become increasingly popular over the years and from all around the world. And at the moment, I say that the vogue is to have these lighter, pale, sort of Provence style rosés, which are great in themselves, but sometimes it's nice to have a little bit of colour. And look at that, isn't that wonderful? Isn't that a lovely colour? Okay, so now I'm going to move on to our second wine. And our second wine is a white wine. And this one is the Castillo Clavico. And this, why, like I said, I saved it to second, is because it's had a little bit of oak in there in the process of making this wine. Now, like I said earlier, that the wines from Rioja, the traditional side is all about aging and using oak as part of the aging process. Now this wine, excuse me, hasn't been aged in oak, but it's been fermented in oak. So it's seen time fermented in oak, and then it's had about 4 months resting on its leaves. Now the leaves are the parts after fermentation. You've got bits of dead yeast, you've got the particles from the grapes, etc. And they're all still in the tank or in the barrel. And what winemakers do sometimes is they leave the wine in contact with what's known as the lees. This can do various things to the wine, but one of the chief things that it does is that it can add texture and body to that wine. So it can make the wine sort of feel creamier, smoother, rounder. And that's what the winemakers try to achieve here. Now, this is a traditional blend of Riojan white grape varieties. The main one is Vallora, otherwise known as a Macabeo in other parts of Spain. It's one of the main grape varieties that you'll find in Cava. But in Rioja, it's known as Vallora. And it's also been blended here with grape varieties Malvasia. And Malvasia is probably there, gives it this nice floral spiciness. And also a little bit of Garnacha Blanco. And this together all works really well, because I think you get the Vallora that tends to have this lovely fresh zippy side to it, as those sort of citrus fruits. You've got the Malvasia adds the spice, and then you've got the Garnacha that adds again, like its red family member. It adds the body, it adds a bit more of that texture. It's got some nice peachy elements it can often bring into a wine. Here it's been added with more complexity because of the time it's spent fermenting in oak. So you look at the colour of that. Listen, you look at that. Isn't that a beautiful colour as well? It's got some like sort of deep, almost gold colour. Golden colour to it, and I just think that's wonderful. It's almost like when you're showing both of these wines, they've got this fantastic appeal to them by just the way they look. So without further ado, I'm just going to give it a swirl and a sniff. Just one moment. So I know it. Take that a bit off. So I'm going to give it a sniff, and then I'm going to give it a taste. Now, on the nose, I'm getting that nice woodiness. There's a fullness to it, a ripeness to it. And I am getting the hints of those sort of stone fruits. There's a bit of sort of nice peach or maybe apricot, but not powerful. It's not in your face fruit this time. It's more subtle, and it's sort of married together with this wonderful vanilla essence and hints of clove, and then you've got there's an underlying citrus element to it as well. and it just smells really appealing. And I've tasted it. Mm. Mm. That's good. That's got a real sense of fullness to it. There's a textural side. I'm also getting a little bit of grippiness. I mean, that grippiness is coming from the tannins from the oak, which I find really appealing because it kind of works nicely with this acidity. You've got this freshness and a little bit of grippiness. That grippiness almost keeps your attention there. It kind of makes you pay attention then to this fruit. You've got this almost like a little bit of baked apple fruit that goes on there. Well, it works well with this kind of clove spice element to it, a little bit of lemon drizzle. And then you've got this slight fuller element of this peachier, rounder fruit going through there. And then all the while, this acidity just washing through there. Wonderful. Very nice. This. Now, this is all from fruit from the Alta region. And like I say, it said the 4 months on oak, and this is opposed to aging in oak, which is the main emphasis of a lot of wines from Rioja. But it's what Rioja is trying to do is it's got its traditional side, and it wants to promote its traditional side, but it also wants to tell everybody about it can also be innovative and trendy and cool, just like everybody else around the world who makes wines, and it certainly can. And this wine, I just find it's a very appealing wine because it has got that touch of tradition, where you've got the oak, but it's got a sense of the modern and the new world with it in the ripeness and the approachability of this wine. That it's not had to spend a lot of time aging in either a barrel or a bottle before you can drink it, which I think is really, really great. Now, this wine itself, I think with it deserves a little bit of food, and I'm probably thinking of things like I'd probably go for something like a little bit creamy, something that's got a bit of texture to it. And I think, well, for one hand, if you want to stay with the more modern and the cool and the trendy, go for something like a creamy avocado pasta. If you want something a little bit more traditional, then garlic prawns would work really, really well with this wine. And I'm sure there's lots of other dishes that anything I think with a little bit of texture, a little bit of creaminess will work generally well with this, and not something that you want to too much that you want to drown it out with flavors, but I just think it really work well. And then again, if you want something that's very maybe just caught from the sea, some seafood would work with this. But I think seafood that's got a bit of flavour to it, either in itself or by the processes that it's been cooked. Something like maybe grilled squid would work pretty well with this. Try them out yourself. And if you buy this wine, you try it and have it with a particular dish that you've made yourself, and you thought it worked really well, always get in touch and let us know, because it'd be interesting for us to know what our wines paired well with for yourselves. So I'm just going to take another swig of this because I think it's rather nice. That's good. It's so smooth. It just glides down the back of your throat, which is fantastic. Now, for the final wine, we're going to go back to the El Cotto producer. And this is their Reserva wine. And what it means by Reserva is that it's at a specified time in oak and a specified time in bottle aging prior to the release for folk like you and I to be able to drink it. Now, this is what Rioja is famous for. It kind of came about by working with the guys from over the border in France, from a place called Bordeaux. At one point, they were devastated by this nasty louse that was eating all the roots of vines and subsequently killing them. So a lot of winemakers from the Bordeaux wine region of France came over to Spain. Initially, it was to set up a market so they could make wine to take back to France, but equally also enabled Rioja to become established as a fine wine making region using oak as part of its aging process. Now, the laws as they stand are there are several categories. The first one is Hoven, and Hoven wines are the wines that generally are not unoaked and they're young. And if you go to any tapas bars in Rioja, usually for a few cents, you can get a very large glass full, often chilled, which is really nice, in the bar, and you can have a very enjoyable day or night, or day and night, if you want, in the bar, drinking these fantastically fresh, young red wines. Next along the list is Crianza wines, and these are generally the most popular Rioja wines that you can get on the market. And these have been aged in oak for a year and then aged in oak for a bottle before release. The wine that we have in front of us is a Reserva, so this means it's had a year in oak, then a further 2 years in bottle prior to release. And then lastly, there is another category above that called Gran Reserva. And Gran Reserva is where the wine has had 2 years in oak and at least 3 in bottle before release. Now, they're the minimums. Producers can often put more, particularly with the Gran Reserva, with the aging, and depends on what their style is. And of course, this one here, what I've got today, is a 2015. So that meant that it was produced in 2015. It spent 3 years aging in oak and bottle, and it was obviously then released in 2018. So another 3 years have passed since then. So it's now had a further 3 years aging in bottle. And so this will have enabled it to develop a little bit more characteristic and complexity to it. So here we are, our lovely red wine. As you can see, it's got a nice ruby colour to it. I'd probably describe this as a medium ruby, because when I look down on it, I can see through it. I can see the stem of the glass, but not totally clear. It has got some colour to it, and some of this colour will be helped to be presented here by a grape variety called Graciano. This is a grape variety that is often blended in Riojan wines. The main grape variety, red grape variety of Rioja, is Tempranillo, and this is mainly Tempranillo grape variety. Again, a bit like the Rosado was, but this time they've got the Graciano in here, and this grape variety, it's a bit like Petit Verdot is in Bordeaux, is that it's added for a little bit of colour, and it can also give a bit of perfume. It's known for its perfume, particularly floral violet that it can give out. Like I say, it's got a nice appealing colour to it. And then on the nose, now I'm immediately getting that oak side of it, but it's not over oaked. It's not just taking over and flooding out everything else. It's got this nice lifted side to it. So I'm getting these, I say, like blackberries, raspberry fruit, and I always with Tempranillo generally get I don't know if people will remember the 1970s, probably not as old as me, but in the 1970s we used to put strawberries in tins and then mush them all up, and they looked terrible, but taste wise they were lovely. You had this really sort of concentrated sweet strawberry, but there were tons of sugar in there because it was in like a sugar solution. But often I find in Tempranillo and Rioja wines, I get that essence of that sort of tinned strawberry side without all that unnecessary sugar that went with it. And then on top of that, or entwined within that, I'm getting this nice woody spice, these little bits of very, it's like there's a coconutty side to it, but there's also this waft of vanilla, and then just this little bit of woody kind of sweet wood, but not overdone. It just seems to work well with that sweetness of those berried fruits. So now I'll give it a swirl. I'm going to give it a taste. First thing, impression of is how fresh it was. Suddenly I'm getting all this fruit whirling around my mouth, but in this lovely freshness that just seems to be washing all over my mouth, and nothing's sticking, nothing's cloying, nothing's too much. nothing's too dry. Now there is tannins in there, but those tannins are very ripe, and they're providing that structure. They're holding the wine together, but they're not sticking my mouth together. They're not making my gums and my lips all stick and go out with this dryness. There is this pleasant side of this lovely fruit, and it's got this nice spicy element to it. And there's because of the age, there's a little bit of savoury, almost meatiness beginning to creep in there as well. Adding to that, I'd just say to give it a bit more complexity to this wine. But I think the freshness is what's really sort of holding this wine up and really sort of showing off what it's got going inside it. And I'm sure if you left this just to decant for an hour or so, then you're going to get it to evolve and show off more than what it's actually doing for me at present, which is still a lot. Now, just having a sniff in there, yeah, and it's getting some really sort of, I maybe even getting now some nice dark cherry fruits that are really coming through, and oh yeah, they're really appealing because they've got this nice cherry side. It's almost erring towards that Black Forest Gatto essence to it. Wow, yeah, that's good. I'm just going to have a little taste. And again, that oak just works. It's seasoned so well. There's nothing about it that's wrong or in the face or feeling like I'm biting into a plank of wood. That's lovely. That's crafted really, really well. Now, this kind of wine, I think, goes well with stuff like chili or Simcani. Something a little bit spicy, something that's got some nice juicy tomatoes going on there, a bit of acidity itself. If you want something a bit more traditional, then obviously lamb or Moroccan lamb, I'd probably, again, put a bit of spice in there. Pheasants would work really well with this wine. And I can imagine an array of other things. I just keep thinking spice. Moroccan, chickpeas, lamb, that kind of thing, chili, that would work well. Not too hot, don't eat too hot, because again, alcohol and chili spice, it accentuates, unless you want to blow your head off. But that's fine if you want to blow your head off, but you'll also lose the taste of the food as well as the wine. So maybe I would just probably suggest keeping the chili not too hot on this occasion, because you want to accentuate the spiciness rather than the heat of the dish. So there we go. There's 3 wines from our range that we've tried today. Do go and try them yourselves, and do go to a shop and see the range. Please stay in touch with us. You can do so by signing up to our newsletter. You can keep in touch with us via email at hello@guestwines.com. You can also give us a ring and you can talk to us, and one of our team will be more than happy to talk through with you. Put an order in for this month on anything from Rioja and you will get a discount, and you will get a little prezi to go with it as well. And you will find all these on our shop at www.guestwines.com. So from us at Guest Wines and from the guys at Rioja Wines UK, this is goodbye from us, but not goodbye from the wines. Get yourself over to the shop, go and get yourself some nice wines from Rioja, try them yourselves, and then please let us know what you think about them. It would be great to hear your feedback. But for now, cheers. You don't want to be missing out on this. You definitely don't want to be missing out. Go and buy some.